Hello campers, I'm Mr. Gunn. Building Wavy Willards Stone Walls with the glass walls is one of my favorite building techniques for my camps, and it's always been met with praise and enthusiasm from my camp visitors. With the glass wall set finally available in the Atomic Shop, I thought this would be an excellent time to do an episode on how you can easily build these walls. As you can see, this combination can make a huge impact with your camp, and it's a build that I rarely see used in other camp builds, so this is a terrific way to get that wow factor for your camp. Okay, let's get started. We're going to take a look at two examples of using the Wavy Willard walls with the glass wall set. Our first example is going to be the Wavy Willard wall, the full wall like the ones you see right here. And our second one is going to be the what I would call the ground merged Wavy Willard walls, where I'm going to show you how to actually take the Wavy Willard wall and push them down into the ground to get a desired height so it'll line up with your foundations from there. So we got two examples we're going to take a look at. On this first example right here, what we want to do is we want to make sure that we get our wall lined up on our foundations accordingly. And let's take a look at the foundations here just for a minute. You'll notice that I'm using the mosaic tile. Now, I'm not choosing that because I like that decor. I like the mosaic tile because it does form a grid pattern that makes it easy for us to line the Wavy Willard wall up on top of the foundation. This is very important. We want to make sure that when we line this up on the foundation, it's nice and straight. It's nice and even with the foundation. These will not snap on top of the foundation. You're going to have to kind of scoot these around until you get it lined up right. And take a look right here. You'll notice that I have that nice tile line going down the length of the Wavy Willard wall here, and you'll notice it's staying nice and parallel. That means this is nice and straight. It's not drifting off to the left or right in any shape and causing us to have the the glass walls glitch through. Another important factor here on this wall, let me take a look. Let's look at this side here first, is that you'll notice that the wall is mostly on the foundation. That's because our glass walls are going to still snap to the edge here. So it's important that those glass walls, when they snap to the edge, they're going to be right between the Wavy Willard wall itself, to such a point that the wall's not showing through the front or the back side of the wall. So we want the wall a little bit more up onto the foundation, just like you see right here. It's not going to be perfectly centered. So now that we got our wall here nicely lined up the way we want it, let's test it out to see how well the glass wall fits into it. So we're going to grab our flamethrower next, and we're going to burn out the wall. Okay, now that we have our wall burned out, let's go ahead and grab one of our glass walls that we're going to use. And I like to use, I'll snap this right here just so we can get to see it a little bit better here. I like to use these full greenhouse glass walls here. They have a nice heavy side beam to them. See those heavy steel beams? And they look like they give a lot of support. I always felt that that's important in the build. If you got something that's supporting a big roof, you want to make sure that everything going down below has got that kind of support to support the roof. And this looks very good. So we're going to grab this guy. We're just going to snap him right into the middle there. There he is right there. Now he's snapped into the wall. You see how he's sticking out of the top right there. And if we look at the wall in the front, we don't see any of the glass wall clipping through, nor do we see any of the glass wall clipping through on the back side here as well. This looks really good. We're going to be able to continue this build just fine. And notice here, this is important too, notice that beam, that steel beam on the edge of that glass wall. See, it's going right down through the stone pillar here, and that's where we want it, because when we place another wall next to it, that steel beam is going to go right here. And this is going to make your build look that much better, showing that these beams are all lining up with each other. So let's go ahead and put another one in. So let's go ahead and grab another Wavy Willard wall. I don't know if I got any stored or not. We'll grab one here out of our defenses. Something to point out too on these Wavy Willard walls. A lot of times I've accidentally grabbed the Wavy Willard wall stone secret door, and I don't want to use that. You can use the secret doors on this if you want to. If you actually want to use this as a doorway in and out of your build, this will work on the full Wavy Willard build that we're doing right now. It won't work on the ground merge one that we're going to show next. So, but make sure you're on the right wall. I don't want this wall. I actually want the regular Wavy Willard wall, and you're going to find that with the stone column right there, and then just moving it over. And there's our wall, and we're going to go ahead and get him snapped into place, because now he's snapping up next to this other wall that we've got over here. So there he is, snapped into place. And let's go ahead and do the same on this one here. Let's just go ahead and get this guy burned out as well. We'll see how it looks. there's our glass wall in place here. This looks pretty good, not too bad. Notice here, this is kind of important. I don't have these walls repaired yet, but you can kind of see how it looks right there. Notice those two steel columns on the sides of those windows, those glass windows coming right down through that stone column, that stone pillar, as I like to call it. So that's exactly where we want that to be. That's why it's important that when you place this first wall, that you get that stone column, that pillar, if you will, right in between the two foundations that you see right here. So this looks pretty good. So let's go ahead and press on. Let's do another build here. We're going to actually go and build this down around the corner here a little bit. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and grab another wall. And we'll snap it into place here. Uh-oh, wait a minute. What's wrong here? I can't get this to snap into place. Well, the reason is this won't snap into place is that wall, that wavy, that glass wall is still in place. And it does overlap into that a little bit. So we got to get rid of that wall. So keep that in mind. If you can't get your Wavy Willard wall to snap into place, it's most likely because you still got the glass in there. So we got to kind of remove that glass. So I'm going to take that glass wall out. Now we'll grab a wall, and voila, it snaps right into place. We'll put the wall back in later, the glass wall back in later. And let's snap another one right here. There we go. Not too bad. And notice here, these are all following a really nice line here. This is nice and straight. Both these walls looking nice and straight against our the line that we got going down on our mosaic tile. So again, this is a great method of using it as a grid, and it looks good here too. Look at that nice and straight line. See how nice and parallel that is all the way down here. It's not drifting hardly at all. So this looks good. But wait a minute, we got a problem right here. Notice here now that stone column, that stone pillar, as I call it sometimes, is not centered between the two foundations, and we want to get that centered so that we get this kind of look when we go back to it, where the edge of those walls come right down through there. So let's go ahead and fix that problem. And it's pretty easy to do. All we got to do is let's go ahead and store this wall next to it. Get him out of the way. We're going to grab this wall, kind of stand in front of it. Grab him. And I'm going to notch him over just a little bit till he looks about centered right there, maybe. That looks pretty good right there, I think. Yeah, it looks good in center. I think we can go with that. All right, now he's centered, and we can go ahead and pop in our wall and get him back into place. There he is. Now he's snapped in. Now what this does is it pushes everything down a little bit. So it does push this wall, this second wall that I just added back in here. It does push it down into the other column a little bit, but not much. You can't really tell the difference there at all. This is very, very acceptable in the build, and this looks pretty good right here. And we can walk around the back side here, make sure nothing's clipping through. There's that edge of that wall right there, that column there. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and check this out again on this side. And again, our lines are nice and straight all the way down. So now we're ready to go ahead and build into this. But take a look over here in a minute. I'm going to show you something here in a minute where that wall is going to actually clip out of here just a little bit. That glass wall is going to show up here. But let's go ahead and burn these guys out first. Get rid of them. This one here. There we go. Let's get rid of that torch too. We don't need that right there. There we go. All right, let's grab our glass walls again, and we'll snap these guys into place. Here, here, and here. Okay, now we got the walls repaired, and we can kind of see how good this is going to look here with all the glass panels merged in with the glass walls, merged in with the Wavy Willard walls. But notice here that the edge of this particular wall is clipping through a little bit, and they tend to do that on longer runs, but that's okay. We can cover that up. We can cover that up by putting another wall over here, or we can put a stone column on the end if we're going to cap it there and continue our build some other way. So we can get that fixed. Let's just take care of that right now. I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. Let's go ahead and get rid of the wall out of here first, and we'll do the same over here. Okay, now let's go ahead and take our get back into our defense menu here and grab the stone column, and we're just going to snap that onto the end right here. Should snap. There you go. Snaps right into place there. And we'll grab our torch, burn these guys back out, and we'll put the glass walls back in. Let's take care of that right now. Okay, we got our walls burned back out again, and we'll grab our glass walls, and we'll snap them all back in. And let's go ahead and get everything repaired. And we'll repair our column. And there it is. Boy, this looks terrific here. Notice how that column now covers up that post that was clipping through here a little bit from the glass wall. Looks terrific here. And again, we could have continued this with another wall going down this way, or it doesn't even have to be a Wavy Willard wall. You can just put a regular wall back into here at this point here and do the same technique. You know, clip it right in, burn it out, so on and so forth. So, and again, notice again these posts, these edge posts on each one of the glass walls coming down nicely through those stone columns. This really gives it a nice looking build, and this is a great example on how you can make the full wall set that fits on top of a foundation for your particular camp. Let's take a look now at how we're going to do the ground merge technique, where we can actually take the Wavy Willard wall and move them down into the ground to get them at a different height for a different type of Wavy Willard wall slash glass wall combination look. Okay, for the next Wavy Willard wall slash glass wall technique, this is the ground merge technique. This is where we can actually take a Wavy Willard wall and we can move it down into the ground at a predetermined height. Then we can take the wall and move it up alongside one of our foundations, whereby then we would burn out the wall and apply the windows, very similar to what we did in the previous example where we had the full Wavy Willard wall on top of the foundation. To start our Wavy Willard wall ground merge, which we're going to need to do, we need to get our Wavy Willard wall down into the ground to a certain height that we can line it up with our foundation to at a height that we want those windows to glitch into. We're going to need to either use a rock or a duck to attach to the Wavy Willard wall to get it to merge down into the ground. So I'm going to grab a duck right here. I'm going to use that one as an example there, and let's go ahead and get our Wavy Willard wall in position here. Going to actually take the Wavy Willard wall and we're going to just set it right up on top of our duck here. I like to use the column end here to set up. You can use either end, but the column end is one of my favorite spots to go to. There we go. Okay, I got the duck and the wall up on top of the duck. Let's go up on top of our pressure plate, highlight our duck, and let's start to push that Wavy Willard wall down into the ground. We're going to go down to a certain height. We'll just kind of stop right here so we can just check and see how high, how deep down we need to go into that ground for our foundation. Now I can line it up next to the foundation to get an idea how high that wall is going to stick up above our foundation. But what I like to do is actually just take one of the glass walls that we're going to use and place it up here onto the foundation as a guide. Grab a glass wall here that I'm going to use in the build. There it is, the full glass wall there. And I want to get that wall. We want to get this Wavy Willard wall. Let's just slide it right up here next to it as a guide here. We want to get this top part of the wall down to about where the height is of this steel base. Just slightly below it would be fine, or even completely below it. You know, so more of it sticking up. It's really up to your preference there. But that's kind of our guide. We want to get the top of the wall down to about where this steel base is. So as I can tell here, I still got some more merging I got to do. So we're going to grab our duck, put it back to our steel, to our pressure plate, place it back up on there again, and we're going to push him down some more. We'll just kind of keep doing that. Grab him now. Let's just see how we're looking now. Set him down along the foundation with the wall there as a guide. Clearly, I still got to come down some more. So just kind of keep repeating this process. Keep moving it down until you get it down to the height that you want. So I'm going to go ahead and move him back over here. And I'm going to repeat that process until I get him down to that height where we want the wall to be. All right, now once you get your wall down to the height where you want it to be, you can go ahead and remove the glass wall that you had up on the foundation as a template. And the next step is now to move the Wavy Willard wall into position and start getting it lined up. And this is a critical point here. We want to get this thing lined up straight. And this is where those mosaic tile as a grid can really be handy here. So you're going to kind of move this around, kind of get it in position till you think you have it lined up. I'm kind of looking right down the side of the wall there, and I can see the mosaic tile lines, and I can just kind of start to eyeball it from here, and then I can place it, and then we can go up on top and check it to see if it's placed correctly. And if it's not, then we just come back down to here, and we just start the process over again, where we kind of move the wall around until we get it positioned in the correct spot where we want it for this particular build. Okay, I pretty well got the Wavy Willard wall lined up with the foundation. Let's take a look at this a little bit closer. You'll notice here that I have a nice straight line going right down the line of these mosaic tiles. There's really hardly any drifting at all. That's really important here, is to take your time and get this lined up. Let me give you a little trick here on the end here. I find that if you move your Wavy Willard wall into about 3 of these little tile links away from the edge, I find that that's really an optimum position to have that. These walls are going to snap in. When I say the walls, the glass walls are going to snap in just fine and stay right in between the Wavy Willard wall here and not glitch through. So this is really important here. Try to get these at around that 3 tile length away at the edge there. If you don't have the mosaic walls to use as a grid, use something else to kind of help you line up, and then you may have to move this back and forth until you get it right when you snap in your wall. Another important element here too is notice I got the stone column here, the stone pillar column. It's almost just about centered. Well, it is, looks like it is centered here right in the middle. So it's right in the middle of the foundation here, and that's important too because we want those window edges, those steel supports on the windows to kind of land through these columns as we build our wall. And let's look on the other side here, and we notice that the foundation is not clipping through here at all. So this is good to go. Let's go ahead and add another wall. So we'll grab another Wavy Willard wall here. Now, if you already have a foundation in place, you'll notice here this will not snap in. No matter what I'm doing, it won't snap in. So you're going to have to remove the foundation. I'll just store this off to the side for the time being. Now we can come down here, and there it is. We can snap that wall right on in. And let's go around the corner here. We'll move this into a corner build, and I'll snap another wall right there. There we go. And notice here now, again, this foundation's landing right in the middle of that column. This is going to be important to make sure that our window edges, those steel supports on those windows, come through the column here as well. If it's off left or right, it's not going to look right, and those columns may clip to the side of the steel supports on the windows, that is, may clip to the side of the column or something like that, and it's just not going to look good. So again, really important here that you take the time to get this first wall nice and lined up. Believe me, you're going to thank yourself later on you took that time, because it's going to make the build look a lot better. All right, let's go ahead and move and get a couple floors put in here. So we'll snap this in there, and we'll snap another floor in over here. Very good. And we'll double check these to make sure that the foundations are not clipping through. Nope, everything looks good. And we're good to go for the next step here. In this case here, what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and burn out these walls and get our windows placed. All right, there we have it. The last wall has been burned out. Store our torch. Now our next step now is let's go ahead and put the windows in to see how they're going to fit and see if everything lines up right. So we're going to grab our window panes, window walls. Snap this first one in here. Looks good. Let's snap our next one in, and we'll snap in right here. And these look pretty good. Notice that they're not clipping through. And these steel columns that I talked about earlier, these steel supports on the edge of these windows, comes right down through that center column, right where we want it to land. This looks really good. Really good. Let's take a look at the outside here. That looks good as well. Nothing's clipping through. And we have a nice build here. This is going to work out very, very well. Now, something you want to watch for is every now and again, if you're going around the corner here, if you're still not lined up properly and what have you, these windows may clip through here on this side over here. If that's the case, that means you got to go back to this first wall and kind of move it a little bit left or right in order to keep this wall here from clipping through, the window from clipping through the wall here. So it still may require some adjustments over here on this first wall. Boy, and I can't say this enough. That first wall is really critical that you take the time to get that lined up properly. That's really going to be important. And when you're lining it up, when you're moving it around, remember to move it around by the duct down here. He's still attached to the wall. If you were to remove the duct, this wall's going to snap back up to the top in full position. It will no longer be glitched down through the ground. So your duct is where you want to grab that wall and scoot it around to get it lined up again if you got to move it around left or right or back and forth accordingly. Let's go ahead and repair these walls here. See how the whole thing looks. And this looks really, really good. This came out quite well. You notice that the windows are all nice and even all the way on down the line here. They're not clipping through the front or the back. Let's take a look at the back here. This all looks really good. Has a lot of nice detailing to it. And this is going to work out very well for your particular build. And again, those columns coming right down through here. This is really one of those important parts here, is to make sure that these steel beams, whatever edge windows you're using, come right into these particular columns. That means you're going to have to make sure that this wall here is lined up correctly. Take that time to get it lined up. Okay, and there's our duct down there still. Now, one of the things I like about the duct, using the duct in these types of situations, it allows me to add to the build if I want to go this way with a wall. For instance, I'm going to snap this little wall right in here, and even though there's the duct there, the wall will snap right over that duct. And that's really a nice thing to have, because later on, in the event you ever want to move this wall for some reason, make an adjustment, whatever, you can do it. If you take the duct out, if you were to go back and then try to move this wall again after you take these other walls out, this wall is going to snap back up, and you're going to have to go back and glitch it back down into the ground again. So I really recommend leaving the duct there. Now, some techniques you can use to hide the duct later on. You can put some bramble bushes in front of it, something else in front of it, whatever the case might be. Or in this case here, I'm just going to hide it with a little bit of a part of a half wall. There, it hides my duct out of the way. Using the Wavy Willard walls with the glass wall set in this particular fashion has got to be one of my favorite camp build techniques, and it's going to add a lot of visual impact to your camp builds as well. I'm Mr. Gunn. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you on the next episode.